This is King Shit Talk.
Thursday. Got some stuff to talk about tonight, y'all. I'm excited about this week's broadcast. I'm gonna go ahead and get my incense lit. I was gonna burn some sage, um, because I need the energy right. So what we're gonna be discussing. The beautiful ladies at Vulnerably Naked podcast sent me a care package with a lot of great things in it. I utilized some of it last night, and I'm gonna use some more tonight. But please, if you haven't already, go listen to their broadcast. They were on last night at 8 o'clock. Vulnerably Naked. It was very good too. They were talking about the D word, and I'm not even going to tell you what the D word was. I was listening, but I know a lot of people, when they hear that, they think of something a little outside of what it actually was. But nonetheless, I have a great talk tonight. I also have a guest that's going to be coming on by the name of Miss Nikita Hunt. And she's a CEO and owner of Ellen Bliss. I think I'm saying that correctly. If not, she can, tell you how to pronounce it when she comes on. But she's a doula as well. Very real, honest, upfront woman. Very motivated. And we're going to talk about narcissism tonight. That's the subject matter. For a long time, I don't know if you guys actually knew what a narcissist was, but I've been hearing that word for a very long time. And I thought it was just like one of those names that women threw on men when they were upset. I honestly didn't fully know what a narcissist was until about, I say about 4 years ago. But now that I know, it caused me to do some self-examinations. It caused me to wonder if I had ever displayed some narcissistic tendencies. And once you know what it is, what it's about, you tend to start looking at other people in a certain way, and subconsciously you start diagnosing people and understanding a little more about people, their actions, what they do, why they do it. And it helps you to kind of, I guess, get a look inside of their lives. And when you're attached to them, from what I heard, now this is what I heard. I heard once you're attached to them, that it's hard to break away from it, even when you know exactly what's going on. But we'll definitely dig into that some more. I'm waiting on Miss Hunt to come in so she could properly, introduce herself to you guys. I believe this will be her first time on this platform. She actually wrote to me, I believe it was last week, and she was asking me to do a show on narcissists. She had asked me if I knew what a narcissist was, and we had an hour-long conversation about this, and I was like, I can do a show on it, but better than that, how about you just come on and we can dig into it together, because I'm sure that there are still some things that I don't fully understand about narcissism. I did a little more research in the past week about it, looked up some definitions, saw some talks on it, pulled up some things on Google about it, and from what I gathered, it actually surprised me because a lot of what I saw and a lot of what I read let me see that I've met some narcissists in my day, and I'm currently around some people that have some narcissistic tendencies, and so something else that came to me when I was doing the research was they said that egoism is attached to narcissism. And what egoism is a doctrine that an individual's self-interest is the actual motive of all conscious action. Now, some of these phrases, when you're just, reading them out or thinking about them in that sense, some of them don't even seem that bad. Some of them don't even seem that negative. But I guess when you attach things to something else, when things are used in a manipulatory manner, then that's when they become dangerous and negative, and that's when you end up getting intertwined with people in situations that aren't for your good all the time. They said that a narcissist, well, let me first say what a narcissist is from what I saw. It says that a narcissist is an extremely self-centered person who has an exaggerated sense of self-importance. Now, that was the part that hit me and said, okay, this doesn't sound like it's too bad. I mean, you should think that you are important. Things should be centered around you and your understanding and what you want out of life and with certain situations to a degree. And this really doesn't bring about a bad thing or setting, I guess, when you're by yourself. I think the majority of these traits only become major issues when you're involved with someone else, when you're in relationship with someone else, when you and that could be in any form. That could be friendships or personal relationships. I think a lot of things that people find issue with other people wouldn't necessarily be an issue if the person was solo. Now, there are a lot of things that may not even be too upsetting or too bad when you're by yourself. But like I said, when you get to mixing personalities, likes and dislikes, wants and needs of multiple people, then something that could be deemed as normal behavior or regular characteristics now become quote unquote narcissistic, now become a negative piece to whatever relationship that it is that you're trying to build on. And then you have to ask yourself, can a true narcissist truly build a relationship? Can they be in a positive relationship? There are a lot of people that get in situations with people, and the part that makes it kind of awkward is if you're not a narcissistic person and you get with a narcissist and you figure out or hear some of these things early on, then the question comes up with, okay, how are these people staying in these relationships or staying in these situations with narcissists, and they're so opposite of who they are? The why is what always gets to me, and those are the people who I love communicating with, or those that can recognize that they've been with a narcissist and can talk about what was going on while they were with this person, some of their emotions that happened, what kind of conversations did they have, were things worked out. Basically, the main thing that crosses my mind is how did you operate in a situation over a certain amount of time when you were connected to a narcissist. And I think it starts subtly. I think there are little flags that people see when dealing with someone like that. I don't think that, and I could be wrong, but I don't think that a true narcissist gets with someone and from day one everything is on the table for who they are. Like they're this way, they're self-centered, they're controlling, they're manipulative, or they take negative energy and flip it, and now it's on you and you feel like the bad guy. I don't think that stuff starts from day one. I think there are little sprinkles of this behavior. It's enough for a person to notice, but not enough for the person to say, okay, I know for a fact I'm not going to be able to deal with this. I'm not going to continue to allow myself to build with this person. I would hope that after seeing all of that, if it's done in a short amount of time, that a person would still put that good foot forward and say, oh, well, this person can change, or maybe it'll get better, or I like this, and this about the person, but these things that aren't so good don't outweigh the good. I have no idea. We will definitely, dig into that and get to that tonight. Because like I said, when I look back at past relationships, I don't think that I've ever been with a narcissist. I have had some relationships that make me scratch my head now, like why was I even in it, or why did it go a certain amount of time? And that even brings something else to mind. I notice that when you hear about narcissism, when you hear about narcissistic behaviors, even when you see it broadcast through media, I have never thus far ever heard anyone describe a narcissist or talk about a narcissist and it be a woman. Now, I know for a fact this can't be a man's disease or a man's situation, but what I do know is I have yet to hear anybody say, oh, she's a narcissist or she has narcissistic behavior. I don't know whether that's because a lot of times men aren't as vocal about the people that they're with when it's not a positive situation, or whether women just don't show these type of things. I want to thank everyone that's listening right now. Like I said, I'm waiting on Miss Hunt. In the meantime, if anybody else wants to come up, feel free to do so. But back to what I was saying, I don't know of any women thus far that are being deemed as narcissists. If anyone wants to touch on that, please do so as well, because I just thought about that. But as far as the narcissistic behavior, I've seen it. I've seen it before in other people. I've had associates before that displayed narcissistic behavior, and when I look back on it, it affected a lot of areas of their lives, not only relationships, but it affected them in the professional realm. It affected them personally, within themselves. Sometimes it brought about a certain situation, brought about disruptive feelings within them, depression, um, anxiety, and a lot of what they were going through. They would then, from what I heard later from some of the people they were with, they would put that out on the people that they were dealing with. The ones that were attached to them, the ones that loved them, the ones that wanted to help them. That narcissistic behavior would almost like put chains on the person that was with them. It's a sad thing to see, and I've heard a lot of. I watch court shows a lot. First 48, I love that too. The 2020, detective mysteries, I love looking at those. But I noticed narcissist or narcissism is a word that comes up a lot when they're talking about people that are committing crimes or doing things to other people. That narcissist word is normally always there. Hold on, y'all. I'm messaging Miss Hunt. But that word is always there. And it makes me think, is there a bit of narcissism in everyone? Is there, just enough of it? Because like I said, it says extremely self-centered person who has exaggerated sense of self-importance. Is there an amount of that that's healthy for people? Because you hear too much of anything is bad, so they say. So when you really start digging deep into it, it makes you feel like maybe some of that can be in all of us. I'm gonna we gotta get Miss Hunt on here, y'all. So I'm gonna have her call in on another line. Something's going on where she can't get in on the app. But let me see. She is here. Okay, that's great. Here she comes. I was about to rig some stuff up and get on here another way. Hello, hello, hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I was about to rig some stuff up and call you some kind of other way.
Well, I'm here.
I was just explaining to everybody about, my thoughts a little bit on narcissism and narcissists. Because like I said, for a long time, I thought it was just one of those words that a woman would throw out at a man in anger. I never really knew exactly what it was. And when I just found out about 4 years ago, I was saying, and when I started doing research on it and really understanding what it was, I started seeing it in people around me, people that may be close to me, little bits and pieces. I've never met a full blown narcissist, so I don't know what that looks like. But kind of give a brief introduction to who you are, and tell me what you think on this subject.
Okay, so can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Nikita Hunt. I I own my own company called Elon Bliss, which means energy and great joy. And what I do, I am a certified meditation coach and facilitator, a life coach. I'm a certified holistic doula. I'm a notary. So I got a bunch of different titles or whatever. So narcissism. Thank you for doing this show, by the way. You surprised me when you asked me to be on here, but I heard what you said earlier, and I just really heard that word like maybe a year and a half ago, narcissism. And I was like, what is that? And I looked it up, and I was like, okay, I could see some of those traits in some of the people that I've dated. I get it, but I don't know if it was full blown. It's like you said, you see little bits and pieces of it, and you're like, oh, that's just how they are. You deal with it, it works, it doesn't work, whatever the case may be. A lot of times, you're just so busy trying to be with that person that you just look over everything they say and do, but all of it is one shape, form, or fashion, a form of emotional and mental abuse. It could be physical. So my thing is I've never had, and I'm just being honest because that's what we do, I've never had one successful relationship with anybody. So I could probably say that most of them were narcissistic, but I can't really say that for a fact because I didn't really understand it until just recently, like you said. Just ask me anything and I can probably tell you what you need to know.
Okay, so with you saying that you've never had a successful relationship and you feel like they've all been narcissists in some way, shape, form, or fashion, would you just think for a moment and try to, if you can, what was it do you think attracted you to these particular men? What was it about? Was there anything common that they had?
I don't know if it was so much as, how do I put this? Each one of them treated me differently. I heard you say that you never see it like right offhand that that's what they are. They all entice me in their own special way. One might talk better than the other one, or one might be more affectionate than the other one. One might, do more for me, or whatever the case was, and it doesn't all fully come out until you put a little bit of time into the relationship. Somebody told me I have a type. I don't know if I do, but now that I kind of look at it, I do. I like a certain appearance, just a certain swagger. Like I'm the type of person that I study people. So it could be any little thing, and I'm just like, okay, that's it for me right there. You know what I'm saying? But they were all different with what they did. So, and people attracted me for different things. I can either be pretty to them, or I could be, a good listener. I'm very nurturing, very caring. Understanding, and that's what it is. It's not so much that I was attracted to them; they were attracted to me with those aspects because that's what narcissistic people do. It's like they can tell who they're going to be able to take advantage of and who they're going to be able to hold on to. Because I might have displayed some insecurities. I was heavier a lot of times. I didn't like my smile. I was kind of shy, but I always did exactly what they asked me to do. So they were like, boom, I got her. And from then on, I was just sucked into it. And I stayed.
So they were ultimately sensing something in you, and
right.
that was causing them to, for lack of a better word, prey upon you.
Correct.
And you seeing the niceness, the affection, things like that, things that everyone wants anyway, because like I was saying, there are very few people that show you the bad from day one. I mean, everyone's going to show you what they feel like you want to see anyway, And it takes a little bit of time and a little bit of discernment to finally figure out who a person really is. Now,
Right.
let's just say the last two relationships you were in.
Mhm.
The last two relationships you were in, how long were each relationship?
This very last one where I realized exactly what it was almost 6 years. Um, the one before that, he was my ex-husband, so I can't say he was narcissistic, but I would say my children's father. And I was with him for about 7 years, but he was physically abusive as well. So those were like two of the most pregnant ones, the ones that stood out the most.
Now, in
But
your oh, I'm sorry.
no, no, go ahead, go ahead.
In your experience, would you say that physical abuse is kind of added to narcissism, or in your experience would you say, okay, that was just an isolated situation? Or I try to find out what's some common things that come with certain situations. And so is physical abuse part of a narcissistic person?
I haven't heard that so much. I think mostly narcissistic people are mentally and emotionally abusive. They use their words. They might, okay, for example, with this last one that I had, he would use, how do you say, play on words. Like
Mm-hmm.
he would tell me we weren't this, but then he would say certain things to put in my head to make it seem like we were that. For example, he told me that he didn't want to be in a relationship. Okay, and I was cool with that because I'm older than him. I'm like 13 years older than him, so I was like, okay, that's fine. But then he would ask me questions like, "Are you cheating on me?" And I'm like, "But I thought we weren't together," Or he would say, again, I don't want to be in a relationship, but he would need me to do things. He wanted me to act like I was his girlfriend or his wife. So I did those things because if I didn't, it would be, oh, I'm not going to talk to you, or if you're not going to do this, or you're not going to say this, I'm just not going to get fool with you. He didn't like. Okay, with narcissistic people as well, it's a certain way that they want you to look and be. So I guess they feel like I was a little bit heavier. I was like 210 pounds when I met him. I had a gap in my teeth. I had, my hair was a certain way, and I didn't have any clothes. Like I worked all the time. So I felt like he kind of could see, okay, she's always at work. She's always at home. I met him through social media, for one
Mm-hmm.
thing. So he was already, looking at everything I was doing. Like, that's her right there. You know, um, they want you to talk a certain way. They want you to be a certain way. And if you fight against it, then you get the silent treatment, or it can be, it's a number of things. It's a number of things. What I would get was the silent treatment a lot, where I would get ignored, or I would be like, everything and everybody else was more important than me. Um, if I asked him to do something, it was always no. Whereas if he asked me to do something, I would jump and do it. Because if I didn't, then I knew he would be mad at me. And he wouldn't talk to me, or I wouldn't get to see him. He would say stuff like that. Like, if you don't do this and you don't do that, I'm not coming over there. And I would just do it because I was like, okay, I knew better. I know I knew better, but I wanted to see him. I wanted to be around him. Like, he had me in a chokehold. I'm going to just go ahead and say he had me in a chokehold.
It sounds like he was very manipulatory as well. Those sound like manipulation tactics.
He was. He was. And if he wanted to go, like, they can't be in a relationship. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now. They cannot be in a relationship with one person. And he would always be like, what do you think about, what is it? Not polygamy. What is the other one? Polyamory?
Yeah.
He would speak about that all the time. I was like, I'm not into that. I don't want to share. Well, we're not together. And I'm like, okay. And if you're not with it, then I'll just leave. And I'm like, okay, well, you go ahead and do it, and just don't let me know about it. That's how I was, because I wanted to please him. And he made me feel bad, or like he was gonna leave me if I didn't agree to it. But then he would say, no, I'm not doing that. You know, I was like, okay, well, are you seeing anybody else? No. Okay. And he had me blinded thinking that he wasn't doing anything for a long time. Yeah. Now that I think about it, it's making me mad.
Well,
It's making me mad.
don't get too angry, but I do want to ask you this. And at any point, if you feel like it's getting too deep, you can let me know. But I heard you say he would do these things. You would ask him for things, and he wouldn't do it, but he would ask you for something, and you would jump every time. Now, at the points where you knew that something wasn't uh, right or good for the relationship, what do you feel like caused you to continue to want to please him? I mean, what made it to where if he said, I'm not coming over, something in you was like, okay, I want to see this man. I want this man to come over, so I'll just do it. What was it about his actions that ultimately made it to where you did want to be in his presence and you did want him to not leave? What made it easy for him to manipulate?
Because he knew I was. The first mistake I made was letting him know about my past relationships. That was one of the biggest. That was one of the biggest mistakes I could have made. Was telling him everything that I'd been through, and he promised me when we first started dealing with each other that he wouldn't do those things. And again, it goes back to I didn't see any of that for a long time. I mean, it would be little stuff, but it was not enough to think, oh, he's getting ready to make a whole fool out of me. He was kind of in a bad situation as well, and I started off helping him a whole lot, just little bits of stuff, and then it progressively got into more and more. I was doing more and more and more, and I liked it because the thing is, I have 2 sons, and I don't know how to just be by myself and take care of myself. My oldest one is 27 now, and the youngest one, it'll be 25. So you're looking at 5 to 6 years ago. I was coming out a bad relationship, and I wanted somebody. And to me, he was different because he was very charming, very, very charming. He seemed very sweet. He was, to me, totally honest about everything. He laid it all out on the table at the very beginning, and I liked it because I felt like he wasn't playing any games, And we were compatible, very comfortable around each other from day one. We same personality, silly, goofy. We got each other, and I liked that. It wasn't like toxic, like the other relationships I had been in.
Now, did it stay that way throughout? I mean, while he was doing the not so good stuff, was it still mixed in with those things that made you fall for him in the first place, or did it just totally do a 360?
No, it was mixed in. It was mixed in. We have our good and bad days. And he would be mean, and then he wouldn't be mean. It was like bipolar. And he wouldn't really talk. He wasn't very expressive. Like he didn't want to talk about everything that was going on. And if you asked him something, it was a short answer. It's like you always got, okay, yeah, all right, whatever. It was never really a discussion about how he was feeling and what was going on. I knew he had some frustrations about, his life at the time. And I was like, okay. And then, of course, it was, such and such did this and such did that to me. And I was like, well, you know what? I promise I'll never do that to you. So it's more of the thing is when I make my promise, I promise. And I'm loyal. Another thing about me is it takes me a while to trust people, and I just immediately, I don't know, it's something about it, I just immediately start trusting him. I trusted everything he was saying. Even though I felt in my gut like he was doing other stuff, I was like, well, he told me he wasn't, so I'm just going to have to believe it. I don't see where he's moving like he is. I didn't go through his phone, he didn't go through mine. I didn't follow him around, I didn't stalk him, and he didn't do anything like that. So I didn't have a reason to believe that he was the way that he turned out to be. Until maybe like a year or so ago.
And this was the 5 year relationship.
Mm-hmm. 5.5 years.
Now, do you think that the trusting him early, because you said it takes a lot for you to trust someone, do you feel like the trusting him early was more about things that you saw in him and he made it feel right to trust him early, or do you think it was more so something within you, whether that be searching for something or being lonely, or do you think it was more something you were dealing with, or just he was that great at being transparent and making it seem like you could trust him?
I think it was both. I think it was he was a master manipulator, and he knew how to play on me because I'm sensitive as well. And then it was also me. It was like, okay, this one don't beat on me. This one don't seem like he messing with anybody else. So he ain't cheating on me. Um, you know, he's not on drugs. And I'm like, okay, he's clean, but he was, really laid back. He didn't go out. We spent a lot of time here at my place, and I was fine with it. I was very comfortable. So it was a little bit of both.
So he was the uh, opposite, because what I'm hearing, it sounds like he was the polar opposite of what you had just gotten out of.
Right.
Like
Right.
maybe the and I'm just guessing here off what you're telling me, but it's like almost like the hurts of one thing can be so great that if something else comes along that could hurt too, but the hurt is not larger than the hurt I got out of, so I'm super happy with this. It's almost like,
Exactly.
when you hear people that say they've been out of work for a long time, they can go from making $30 an hour, get put out of work for whatever reason, out of work for a long time, and then the next job that's offered to them is $10 an hour, and they're happier and more excited, like they're making more than the original 30.
Exactly. I thought I would get more. I was like, this is great. He don't go out. I don't see him messing with anybody. I don't see any signs of it. He don't curse me out and beat on me. The drugs. He not. I don't have to follow him around and stay up all night and wonder where he's going. He didn't live with me, but I didn't have to do. I didn't have to do all that. I didn't have to do all that. And that was. I mean, we had our ups and downs. Like we would get into little petty arguments about stuff or whatever, but not to the point where we would stop talking for long periods of time. So, like a year and a half ago, I just got tired of certain things. It was a lot of stuff that started just coming out, and that was done. And I was like, you know what, Nikita, we promised him we wouldn't leave him. We don't stick by him. He got some issues or whatever. Um, to the point to where I was like, I always had like a bad feeling or like a knot in my stomach. I was like, not sick, but I was like, every day it was something. And I was like, just leave, just go. And I was like, no, don't do that because you promised him, love him. And then when we did get into it, I would be sick on my stomach. Like the same feel like I didn't want to not have him around me. It was like I couldn't breathe without him around me. That's how bad it was. And it eventually created, if you've heard of a soul tie,
Yeah.
it's so bad. The soul tie is so bad that, within the last year, if I thought about him, he would immediately call and be like, what you want? And I was like, what do you know? He's like, I can feel when you're thinking about me. And the same with me. If I was getting ready to call him, he would pick up the phone and be like, hey, I was just here. I felt it, and it was that bad. So we were so connected that I would actually get sick and want to lay in the bed and I would want to move because I did not want to have him around me, but he would also make me miserable that I would want him to go. But he had me in a chokehold, like I said. He had me feeling like everything that happened was my fault. It was me. I got braces. He got mad and went talk to me for 2 days. There's nothing wrong with you. I wanted braces. I lost weight. Started working out. He got mad about that. Locked my hair. He got mad about that. I wear colored contacts. He gets mad about that. He told me, you're too colorful. I wear too many bright colors. I want the chubby gap tooth Nikita back. I don't like this one. She's mean. So if it wasn't about him, if I didn't, I started focusing on myself is what I'm trying to say. And he didn't like that because I wasn't totally focused on him. So then things started to change a lot.
Because he started losing some of that control that he felt he had over you.
Right. He had control. He did not have control over me like that anymore. He still had control, but I was breaking away because I was tired of the stuff that he was doing. Every time I would call him out on stuff, and this is what they do when you call them out on stuff, they get mad and they want to end the relationship. I don't think we should. I think we played out. The time is up. We're done. I don't want to talk. And I'm like, okay, are you sure? He's like, no. And it would confuse me. Like, do you want me or don't you want me? And he was like, no, I'm not. I don't want to end it. And then, he would be mean, and then he would be nice, and then he would be mean, and he would be nice. And I think I told you it was like every January he would flip, maybe March, July, September when retrograde hit, he would flip, and he would break it off of me every time. So I had eventually got used to it, but I had got tired of it because it was always, he was exhausted with me. And I'm thinking, what are you exhausted of? So to be very transparent, I helped him pay his bills. I helped him take care of his children. I made sure he ate. I made sure, he had somewhere to, lay his head. I folded. When he was here, his clothes were here with me. I laid out 3 outfits every day. Ironed them, laid out shoes, socks, everything. All he had to do was come in and pick which outfit he wanted. I took very, very, very good care of him. I didn't argue with him. And I said, like I said, I did everything he wanted me to do. And I was absolutely almost 99% perfect all of the time. But he was always exhausted with me.
That's crazy because, that sounds like when I talk to guys or some of my male friends that are married, what you're saying you were doing for him sounds like what a lot of guys say they want in a spouse and what my married friends say they have in a spouse. So it's kind of, I know if it's confusing to me, it had to be hella confusing to you on why that wasn't enough.
Because he's narcissistic, and what happens is he recently did therapy. I ended up having to do therapy too. First of all, let me say, he did therapy, I did therapy because he had other issues, I had other issues. My therapist told me wasn't a damn thing wrong with me. Oh, can I cuss? I'm sorry.
Yes, you good.
she actually kicked me out of therapy. She said, you know what to do. You know what it is. You don't need therapists. You're a therapist. Therefore, my certification. But I couldn't see it because I was so in love with him that I couldn't see it. I was like, okay, he's got all these issues. I just need to be gentle with him. I just need to work with him, and he'll do better. And he did. He keeps a job. He's had the same job almost 5 years. He finally got his own place in his name. He got a car in his name, whereas he was doing all this other stuff that most guys do. He's very stable, but he's unstable. But he's gotten all he needs out of me. So now he's bored, and he's got to go find something else to do. So it's always something, but it's always my fault. Always my fault. And I told him, I said, I don't think that you're ready for me. Number one, because I'm older. And they always say, oh, it doesn't matter how old you are. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. It does. I don't care what nobody say. Y'all don't believe it. Yes, it does. Because in a sense, I'm very, very mature. Like, I'm very open-minded. I get that sometimes men can't be satisfied with one woman. I get that. I mean, you could be the best in the bed or, like a good homemaker, whatever, the best person to talk to, counsel, all that. Keep them grounded, and they're still going to go out and mess with who they want to mess with.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, I don't think I did anything wrong. I know I didn't do anything wrong. Now I look at it, but the whole time I thought it was me. He made it seem like it was me.
And the more he made it seem like it was you, did you ever start believing what he was projecting?
I did for a long time. And I always question, and I would overthink, and then I would always bring it up, which was pissing him off because it's like, look, we're not going through this anymore. you know. And then he would also tell me, it's not you, it's me. And I'm like, okay. So then again, he's gone to therapy again. And just recently, maybe like 4 months ago, he actually sent me something on narcissism. And I was like, what is this? He's like, I believe this is what I have. And
Oh,
so
wow.
at that, right. And so at that point, we weren't very close. Like I said, we stopped dealing with each other, and he came back. Listen to the exact words. I had to come back and get you. And that turned me on. It did. I ain't gonna lie. It turned me on because I'm like, he's never said stuff like this before. You know what I mean? And it was, I love you, and I hate I did it. I fucked up. You know, he did some stuff. Excuse my language. He did some stuff. I ain't gonna go into detail. Yeah. But he's like, I'm not gonna do it. He's like, I'm gonna fix it. I said, if you promise me you're gonna fix it, okay. So we started dealing with each other again, but he was using me to help him. And I called him out on it. He was like, no, I'm not. And he got mad and he cut it off again. And then he came back again. And I was like, okay, listen, I'm not going to keep going through this with you. Like, you're going to have to figure out what it is. So he's like, no, I was just upset. And then he stopped wanting. He already didn't do a lot with me, but he just really stopped doing stuff with me. And I was like, listen. I don't think you really wanted to get back with me. I think you miss me and you're used to me, and I get that. I keep you grounded. I'm your peace. But I think this is enough. And he started crying. And he was like, I didn't want to say it. He said, but I'm used to having you here. He said, and I love you. He's like, I just have done you so dirty. And I'm like, yeah, you have, but it's okay. You know, we grew from it. I allowed you to do it, so whatever. At that point, I'm like, I really didn't allow him, but I'm like, I just let him do it because I wanted him there. And then we decided we were gonna be friends. Okay, we tried that. Guess what? He didn't want to do that. He wanted me to still take care of him and do the stuff I was doing. And again, I got tired. I was tired. I wouldn't cry anymore. I would hardly call. Like before, I would call and talk to him all the time. I wasn't doing any of that anymore. And I started finding stuff to do, because he would be like, why don't you find something to do? That way you won't be clocking me all the time. I'm like, all right, cool. So I started finding stuff to do. And then when I realized we weren't really going to, mess around like that, I started dating. I would talk to people, whatever. And I told him, I'm going on a date. And now, mind you, he would tell me, you need to find somebody else. There's plenty of, men out here, whatever. Okay, cool. I did, and I told him, because we were friends, I'm going on a date. And I had to hear about it for 7 days. And I said, are you upset that I'm going on a date? He's like, no, I'm just surprised. I was like, why? He said, because you're so predictable. I was like, oh, okay. But when the date didn't happen, he was ecstatic. Oh, you love messing with young guys and this, that. I'm like, you don't know nothing about him. I didn't say anything. I just, I would leave him alone. I wasn't arguing with him anymore. But I had to hear about that for 7 days. So it bothered him. So now he's all worried that I'm going to be messing with other people. So now he wants me. But he still don't want to be in a relationship. But he wants me. So I said, okay, let's play this out.
And see, that's so. It's unfortunate, but yet so obvious when it comes to men, because for some reason, and let me say this too, when I say men, whether I'm in that boat or not, I'm still gonna say men. I'm not gonna separate it and say except me. So just know that. But men have a tendency to treat woman A like, she's just average and replaceable, and I can do what I want to do and continue to do it. But as soon as we find out that somebody else is getting a little bit of that attention, somebody else is benefiting if it's nothing but a little bit off of what we've benefited from, now it becomes okay, I have to be what she wanted me to be the entire time anyway. I can't dare let some other man, enjoy or experience what I've experienced.
Yeah. And I feel like at the end, because I wasn't doing all the monetary, the financial things for him anymore, I was doing more of, like encouraging him and ripping and running around. He would find stuff for me to do. Like, I know good and well he would find, like, he was like, can you stop by my house and get this? And I'm trying to work. You know what I'm saying? And okay, I'll go run and do it for you. Can you just go to the store and get this? And I'm like, you just left from out there. And I had started telling him no. And he would be like, he sent me the little sad emoji or whatever, or sound sad on the phone. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm laying down. And I had started bunking up to him, basically, is what I was doing. He didn't like that at all. And, like, for example, I had went out October, I think, and I'm like, I'm going to go out by myself. And I did. I went out by myself. And I would say, come on, let's go somewhere and do something. Even as friends, and oh yeah, we'll do it. And then he would back out on me. Then he'd be like, oh, I want to learn how to go out by myself. I'm not dumb. I already know what you're doing. You've been doing. You know what I'm saying? But it's okay. I wouldn't bother him. But when I went out, he had to call me and ask me about something stupid. Like, I think it was like something at the Waffle House or what was open late to eat, just so he could see if I was going to answer the phone or, respond back to a text. And I responded back because I wasn't doing anything. And then once whatever I tried to call him back, he wouldn't answer the phone. He got what he wanted. He interrupted me. He had to be, again, the main focus. If you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She's out, and she's trying to learn to go out by herself because I told her to and have a good time, but I'm not going to let her do that because guess what? She's not blowing my phone up, or she's not asking me, can I come over? Can I spend time with you? I just wasn't going to do it.
It's something that I'm gonna ask you. I wanted to ask a lot of women this question especially when I hear them talk about relationships, past relationships, hurts, things like that. That's why a lot of times when I have these discussions with women, I tend to ask them how long were they in the relationship, and it's because I know exactly why I was in certain relationships especially if they were an extended amount of time and it wasn't all good. So I try to figure out, okay, what keeps a person there. But that brings me to this question, is what I wanted to ask. When you were mentioning how he was in the beginning, and you talked about how that changed and certain things that let you know that he was a narcissist and things like that. I remember you saying he did A, B, and C, and some of it I let slide, or I would do this because I love him. The question is, we always hear about the bad, what someone did that made us know we had to leave. But while you're in those situations, when that stuff is going on, what exactly was he or any other narcissist that you dealt with, what was it that made you love the person? What were they doing that made you love them? When did you fall in love?
With him, I think I fell in love within the first 6 months to a year. I was in love, like head over heels in love. He was sweet, but not sweet. I don't know how to put it. Like, he was quiet. He didn't yell. He didn't argue. He
made you feel comfortable?
He very comfortable around each other. Very, very comfortable. It's like one of those things where you just immediately start using the bathroom or something in front of somebody where it might take you 2 years. It was that kind of comfortable. Very, like we weren't strangers. He was, like I said, very chill and laid back. But now that I think about it, the whole time, he was filling everything out. I guess I need to say this as well. When I was married, we were in a group on Facebook, not my ex-husband, but all of us, him and a whole bunch of other people. And that's how I met him. And never in person, but we talked a couple of times, and I was like, I can't do this because I'm married. You know what I'm saying? We were just friends or whatever. From that, he kind of already knew me a little bit, just through the group and certain conversations. And he pursued me a few times, during the years, and finally in like 2017, he's like, hey, and I asked him questions. I think he had gotten married too. He had gotten married too, and I was like, aren't you married? He's like, no, we got divorced. I was like, I got divorced. So then that's how we ended up, hooking up. And then he showed a whole lot of interest in me. He spent a lot of time with me. And then over a few years, the time just started dwindling down. But what I found out was he had a whole nother girl Then he had a whole nother. Then when he got rid of her, it was still. See, I was the repeat. I was the one that was gonna always be there. He knew that. I was gonna always be there. So he had that one girl. He got in a situation with her. I helped him with that. It's okay. It happens. Then he turned around and didn't want her, and he had a whole nother girl, and I didn't find out until 2 years later. I didn't even know. Didn't even know. He hid it the whole time. I didn't know. I felt it, and I had, you know, a little intuition. I was like, you know, I'm gonna just leave it alone because he'll tell me it's gonna come out. And eventually it did. During the time that we stopped talking, like the end of 2021. He told me, and I was like, okay, but I couldn't let it go. I did, but I didn't. I just had to keep bringing it up because I'm like, you keep going out here and you keep looking. This is what I don't understand. This is what narcissists do. When they get bored with you, they go already going out looking for their next victim. And all of us, and I can't say this, the last 2 or 3 of us that I know of are all the same sign.
Really?
We're all the same. Yeah, we're all the same sign.
Do you think that he wanted it that way, or it just happened that way?
I think I don't know if a lot of people believe in, you know, the that, you know, that part of it, but I do. And we all have the same characteristics: very nurturing, loving, affectionate, soft-hearted, open-minded, you know, stuff like that. I don't like to argue. I got a bad temper, but I don't like to argue about it. Like, and also another thing is that with me, I don't know about with them. With me, you have to grow off of me. And this has been every relationship I've had. I've never been like, oh, I want to talk to you, I want to buy. It's one of those things where it's like you have to keep doing stuff to me, and then eventually I don't want to deal with you no more, and I treat you different, and then I'm like, I'm gone. But that was one of the things that, you know, I know he told me. Now, another thing is that if people call it dumb, I call myself dumb, but now that I look at it, I wasn't dumb. I was just doing stuff because I just wanted to be with him, and I wanted to make him happy, and I was so-called happy, but I wasn't happy, you know?
Yeah.
But, he did sneaky stuff. He was very good. He would get caught every now and then. He was very sneaky. That's how he turned out, to be very, very sneaky. And then once he diagnosed himself or was diagnosed, he just started doing stuff out in the open. He didn't care no more. He didn't care if he talked about other females around me. He knew it bothered me, and I was like, I'm not ready for that. You know, we friends, but don't talk about it. And he's like, okay, I won't do it. And then when I pissed him off, people started talking about it. I can get bitches. Okay.
Now, what's your sign?
I'm Aquarius.
Aquarius, and what was he? Or what is he, rather?
Cancer.
Have you ever dealt with a Cancer before him?
That was my first time.
Do you think that because you said once he was diagnosed, he started being more out there, more blatant with his stuff. Do you think that he used the diagnosis as like the quote unquote excuse or the crutch?
Yeah. Yeah. So now, if I didn't know what it was before, oh, well, now you know. So I got a problem. But the whole time, he was like, I can't wait to do this so I can, you know, get this taken care of. And I think he knew that there was never going to be a cure for it. It's then you can't do anything about it. And I didn't know that. I heard of it, and I knew it, but I thought you could go to therapy and get cured for it. You can't. He's going to always be this way. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. It stems from childhood, past traumas, you know, all that. It's something that happened to him, very traumatic, and it's just how he is, and there's nothing you can do. It's a disorder. There's nothing you can do about it.
Wow. Now, I didn't even know that, so I'm learning something new, too.
He's going to always be this way. He's never going to be in a successful relationship with anybody. He'll get bored. He'll go find somebody else, another victim. He'll do to them, you know, what he's done to me and others. He doesn't love himself, so he can't love anybody else. He may have love for him, and I believe that, but he can't love anybody else. It may not even be good for his children. He can, you know, he's kind of cold a lot. He needs validation. They often need validation. They have to feel like they're the most important thing ever. I've had successes, and he'll be like, oh, okay, good. but it's never like very enthusiastic. You know, it ain't nothing like that. And it's a short, if I say anything like accomplishment I have, it's very short, and then we move on to him. He's got a problem. And this, that, and the other, and blah, blah, blah. And that's it. If I ask him, you know, if I would ask him something about me, why? Why do you like me? Why do you even keep me around? Why? And then sometimes he would be like, because I want you around. But it was never a full conversation like, you know, I love you, you're very sweet. But I have heard him say, and I think he used this because he knew I didn't want him to go, is you don't deserve this. You need to find somebody else. You don't deserve any of this.
And him probably telling you this because he even knew that you weren't going anywhere.
Yeah, he knew I wasn't. And he said it. You're not going nowhere. I was like, okay. I'm gonna. He's like, nah, I ain't going nowhere. So right now we're not even talking. And it wasn't, you know, anything like a relationship type. It was friends, and I just, you know, I told him, I said, you can't be my friend because you don't. And I had told him this over and over again. You're not for me like I am for you. You know, even when I know you got this disorder, something in you has to say she is like the best person. And he said you're a very, very good person. You're very consistent. You've been my ride or die. Something has to tell you, let me at least reciprocate.
Mm-hmm.
If not, just do more for her and just let her sit by. Like he's told me, I don't want you to feel alone. We just have to take care of each other. And that played on me like a heartstring. Okay, he's sweet, he's compassionate. Okay, we're gonna help each other. But I wasn't getting no help. I wasn't. He doesn't intend on it. Like he would not stop doing for me like I stopped doing for him. And I just last 2 weeks I was like, that's it. I can't do it no more.
Does it still, knowing everything that you know and the point where you are now, does it still sometimes hurt you, or do you still yearn to have him around?
No. It hurts because that was 5.5 years. It was a lot of time spent. It was a lot of money. It was a lot of heartbreak. It was a lot of crying. It was some yelling. It was loving. It was laughing. It was, if you think about all that stuff, you know, that you did together, the good and the bad. It was more bad than it was good, but I would hold on to that one or two little good things of like, what's the best thing ever, you know? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I miss that. But the feeling in the pit of my stomach every time the phone rings is like he complaining, or, you know, he's, you know, upset, or he's depressed, or, you know, it was every day, and I would probably be like, you know, just relax or whatever. It was taking over. It was consuming me to the point where I was sick. I actually got sick. And I was like, you know, I can't. For one thing, if you know me, Salid, I do not look my age.
No.
Okay? I don't want to, but I start, you know, looking at myself like I know I have some issues, but I was letting my health go. I let my weight go. You know, I didn't have the energy to get up. I was crying. I was anxious. I would have a full-blown anxiety attack. I was rushing around all the time trying to do stuff for him and not getting stuff done for myself. And it was like, oh, okay, you know, it's not done. It'll be all right, you know. But my stuff is done, you know. And I was just miserable. And I just had to come to that reality. I'm miserable and I can't keep doing this. He is using the hell out of me, and you're letting him do it, and you've been the biggest dummy, and stop. You're too old for it, you know better. Stop it. Let him go on and move on to whoever else he's going to do it to, and I feel bad for him.
So you had to give yourself therapy. You had to have a conversation with you.
Every day. I still do. Every day in my mind, I'm like, you know what? You did this, you did that, you did everything you could do. You're beautiful, you're smart, you have, you know, you're trying to get your business together, you're focusing on you, just sleep through it. And, you know, I didn't sleep the first 3 or 4 days. And again, I can't say that he didn't not care like that. Like I said, that soul tie, I could feel him. And I'm like, okay, I got to unblock him. No, don't unblock him. Don't unblock him. Block him. Don't unblock him. You know, and going back and forth, and then I get mad. So this last time I was mad. I wanted to hurt him.
Wanted to physically hurt him or
I wanted to
emotionally?
physically. I wanted to physically hurt him. And I said, that's it. I can't do it because if I kill him or hurt him real bad, then it's gonna make me look crazy, and I know I'm not the crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten over plenty of men before. You know, like I said, my kids that he beat me for about 5 or 6 years. I got over that. But I tell you, being with a narcissist and the emotional and mental abuse is way worse than physical abuse.
Oh yeah,
Way
I can
worse.
believe it. I can believe
And
it.
I told him that I would much rather for you to beat me, seriously beat me, than for playing with my mind like you're doing.
Yeah.
I would much rather for you do that.
And with that, do you feel like you're scared to be in another serious relationship because of what happened in that relationship?
Yes.
You are.
And one of the reasons is I said, okay, I got to step out here. When we stopped talking in 21, I was like, let me go out here and find me somebody else. So, you know, let me be receptive to some other people, but it's garbage. I would just tell y'all, the dating scene is terrible, okay? It's bad. It's real bad. And so I was like, you know, I even told him, I said, listen, I know if things are like they are, but let's just deal with each other for right now because I can't do it. I'm like, you know, and he kind of said the same thing, but, and, you know, I feel like he really was and I wasn't. But I was like, okay, that's fine. That's why I say at the end of it, we were more friends than anything. But now, because I know it's final, and I mean, you told me and other people, like, he's going to reach out to you. He's going to reach out to you. He's going to hit bottom again. He's going to reach out to you. And, you know, you sit back for a while and you look at the phone and you look at the phone and you're like, damn, did he text me? Did he call? I don't know because I blocked him, you know, or he tried to email, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, this is it. I think this is really it. And you just have to deal with it. You have to just get up and keep going and heal yourself. Because one of the things I was reading was that they thrive off of you being hurt.
They thrive off of you being hurt.
They love it. So me sitting here waiting like I normally would do on him to call me or text me or, you know, whatever he's going to do to show me he's, you know, thinking about me, he's punishing me right now. That's what he thinks he's doing. He's punishing me. Oh, I ain't going to call her. I'm not going to text her. I'm not going to, you know, say nothing. She going to text me. She going to call. I'm going to just sit here. That's what he would do. He'll do that 2-3 months, you know. You don't hear from him. And then he'll pop up.
And see, I tell people all the time with various situations like that, at the end of the day, even though it's hard to detach sometimes and we can see certain things and know that it's not for our better good, but for whatever reasons, we stay in it or we strive to keep going. But you teach people how to treat you. That's what I say. Every situation I was in, if it was a bad situation and at the end of it, I felt like, okay, well, she did this or she didn't have to treat me this kind of way. My brain then goes to the point that it started and the point where I decided to walk away. And I'm like, everything in between that, I was teaching her how to treat me.
How to treat you, yeah.
By accepting it, and I wasn't in a lot of relationships I was in, I look back and see that I was not a great communicator because I used to hold things in. If I didn't agree with something, if something didn't vibe well with me, I wouldn't say anything because I too did not like confrontation. I don't like to argue. I feel like if I'm in a relationship with you, it doesn't have to be great every single day, but every single day we should be striving to make it great, if that makes sense.
It makes sense, yeah.
And that brings me to, if in those moments where he was the way that he was, were you guys communicating during that time? Meaning, were you sitting him down and saying, hey babe, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I don't like? Did you guys talk about those things that he was doing that you didn't vibe with?
He would talk about it shortly, and that was all he said. He didn't want to talk about it anymore. Like if I listened, it was very short. It was he would give me little tidbits of what he felt, and that was it. It's like when he realized what he was doing, showing emotion, or even opening up, he would stop. And if I said, okay, that's enough, I didn't want to stress him out, and then I would go back and try to ask him questions. Why are you asking me this? Why are you bringing it up? Leave it alone. I don't want to talk about it. And I'd be like, all right. And then he would get the notion of what he wanted to talk, and I'd listen. And then if I, wanted to ask him something else, why are you bringing it back up? I don't want to talk about it. Because I want you to really explain what it is, what happened, what am I doing wrong, what do you need me to do, how do you want me to be? And he would often tell me, I need you to be what I want you to be when I want you to be that way.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. You are, and that's what I would be like a chameleon. If you wanted me to be friend, I'd be friend. If you wanted me to be girlfriend, I'd be girlfriend. If you wanted me to be wife, I'd be wife. If you want me to be nothing, I just waited on it. I just changed for whatever way he wanted me to be, just so he would be happy, and he was never happy. And the whole time, when I say love, if anybody knows what agape love, it's an unconditional love. It was very agape, very agape. I mean, I forgave this man for everything he did, everything, and he did some crap. I forgave him. I forgive all of them for everything they do. I don't forget, but I forgive, and I just move on. But it was bad. I just could. I just at this last month, I just couldn't do it anymore. I get tired of crying, tired of not eating, tired of trying to figure out. I'm looking at myself in the mirror like, are you too big? Are you ugly? Are you too old? Are you anything? It was always me. I'm looking at myself like, bitch, you fine. What you mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Lord, you have gained nothing from this man. Nothing. Nothing. He has not put me nowhere to live. He has not paid a car payment. He sent me money every now and then, but hell, you turn around and you need it back. It started to where it was, he didn't want to be intimate at all. Because I'm having problems. I just ain't in the mood, and my mind is on this. And I understand men get to where they're worried about money, finances, whatever, and I get that. That's one thing I understood, but it's like, it just got terrible. And I'm like, I asked him to come over. He didn't want to come over. I'm like, I'm going to come over there. He's like, you always trying to get over here. I'm like, God, are you serious? It was crazy. It made me feel unwanted and unappreciated. And that's what he wanted. He wanted me to feel just as bad as he felt.
And unfortunately, we get to a point where we look at what's being thrown at us as far as him saying not wanting to be there and all of that, but we tend to internalize it, and instead of seeing it for what it is, we start looking at ourselves like we have the issue. Something is wrong with us. We subconsciously start making excuses for their bad behavior for them.
And I made excuses. None of my friends liked him. My sons tolerated him because, they were respectful. People for years were like, Nikita, please leave him alone. He is not any good for you. And I was like, no, he's got issues. He's okay. It'll be fine. And I actually had a friend, he died a couple of years ago. And this was maybe like a year and a half into when we were talking. And he just didn't really talk to him. Like, we worked together. And he said, baby, I'm going to tell you something. And he said, this man to you, he's never going to want you. You're never going to be the one. You can sit around and you can wait. It's not going to happen. And I didn't know what he knew at that time. And I was like, okay. He's like, please leave him alone. He is just going to keep hurting you. And this man went to his grave telling me that. And I still didn't listen.
Oh, wow.
I still didn't listen.
And I was going to ask you about that too. You kind of went into it a little bit just now, but I was going to say, was he this way just with you or around family and friends too? There was no off switch?
I can't really say because I would talk about him, but he would never talk about me that I know of. Like, I don't think the only ones that I know about me are his two sisters. I worked with one, and the other one she kind of mishappenly found out. And when I found out something he did, I asked one of his sisters, and she told me, like, not verbatim, but she kind of, because we were cool. And then he found out about it, and instead of making it look like he was the one that did something wrong, he was like, we're not in a relationship, and she ain't got no reason to be mad. And this and that. So they turned around on me like, well, I can't believe you even asked me anything about my brother. Y'all not in a relationship, so you shouldn't even care. And I'm like, but it's more to it than that. And I didn't even try to elaborate and let them know exactly what it was. I just took the blame for it. And I apologized for it. And the whole time I didn't even do anything wrong.
And see, sometimes that gets us in those pits when it's a tricky thing with just being friends and being in a monogamous relationship, because the phrase can be said, okay, we just friends, and technically, you would think, okay, well, it's not my business what you're doing, and you can talk to whoever you want to talk to because, quote unquote, we're just friends. But while you're just friends, if we're doing every single thing that two people in a monogamous relationship is doing, then how do we, and when I say we, I mean men sometimes, because we'll throw that safety net out there of saying we're just friends, but yet we have the woman doing everything that she'd be doing if she was our only woman, if she was our wife, but when something happens, if we get caught up in our shit or something, then we can lay on that blanket of, hey, we just friends. And then you guys end up internalizing it and feeling like you're an issue or you're a problem. It's just recently where I've seen it kind of shift a little bit, and there are more women using the, hey, we just friends. I'm going to date him, and him, and we just friends, so you can't say nothing.
But we hoes when we do it.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. And I think it's fine for you not to want to put a title on it. And I understand some people are like, well, you were just dumb. And I get that. Because at some point, I was. But it's one of those things where you don't stay with somebody as long as we stayed together or came back and forth, not to have some type of relationship. You know what I'm saying? Situation, whatever. Our relationship was not the normal relationship. I was monogamous, but he wasn't. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, unknowingly, I didn't know. And here's the thing: where I thought it was just a couple, it actually turned out to be more.
Really?
Yeah. It actually turned out to be more, and that was another thing that kind of put me over there. I was like, you know what, this man is really putting my life in jeopardy. Like, really putting my life in jeopardy.
Yeah.
I don't know where he been, what he been doing. I done been with him so long. I'm just like,
come back up, Nakita. Come back up. I got a guest waiting now. Let's see what they're talking about while Nakita comes back up. But just come back up, Nakita, and I'll get you back on here. Hello? Hello? Okay, I lost it. Nakita's coming back now. Nakita, I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Okay, yeah, I was so into what you were saying, I wasn't even paying attention to the timer. But you were saying that you found out there were more, and it was putting your life in danger.
There were more. He said it was more. Yeah, I said he put my life in danger. He made a confession about stuff, and I was reading the names that he was listing. I was like, Jesus. I know some of them were old. But it was like so many, and I was like, some of them, because he had told me about one he was messing with while he was with the other girl, and it was a mess, and it was just, and then the latest thing was I was over there one day, just, I had a bad headache, and I was laying there, he wasn't even there, and he came in, and I've been over there several times. Like, I had access to his apartment, so I've been over there several times, and there's never been an incident. Within like the 7 or 8 months he was there, and then one day somebody just started banging at the door and shaking the door handle, and I'm like, who in the hell? And I'm like, I had a friend. It's been years ago. He got killed. Him and the girl got killed, and I'm like, I can't go through that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't. I don't know what's going. It's always over here. It's always been safe. You understand what I mean? Like, there's no drama. There's no baby daddy, no boyfriend, no anything. None of that drama, you know? And I just was like, first of all, when I'm over there, you act like you're very uncomfortable all the time or rushing me. And now this. And I'm like, so when we fell out the other week, I was like, I'm not coming back over there ever again. And I'm not. Never. I don't care if it's years down, months or years down the road, and I'm licensed. He come, come and chill, meet my little girlfriend, which I probably would, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to go back out there. I don't, because you didn't even give me a good experience. You didn't make me feel comfortable. And then but every time you came over here, it was comfortable. You didn't have to worry about anything. You didn't even have to worry about another man, because I didn't even deal with other men.
And when you were over his place and he was, acting uncomfortable and things like that, did you ever get that woman's intuition that he's probably acting a certain way because he's dealing with somebody else, or did you just?
Yeah. I would tell him, I was like, oh, it's about that time. He's like, what you mean? I said, it's time for you to find you another girl. I'm like, what you talking about? I'm not doing that. Yeah, you are. Because here's another thing. Even as friends, he tell me his movement a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
There would be times to leave when he would call me, we stay on the phone 3 hours. And then that would go on for, a week. And then all of a sudden, boom, he won't answer the phone. He laid there, he ignored me. And a lot of times he wasn't doing nothing. Mm-hmm. He wasn't doing nothing. He just did it to mess with me. But it wasn't messing with me like he thought it was anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
If he didn't answer, I just hear call it. Or I would have to, I can't get a good night. Or if I said good night and I didn't put a kissy face behind it, he was mad. But then he could do it to me. Again, that's one of those things where you got to make him feel important. You got to have that validation to know how important he is. And once he starts feeling like he's not important to me anymore, it's like, well, I guess I'm a loser, so I'm going to go ahead and find me somebody else. And so I told him, I said, you're starting to act funny. Who is she? And he was like, what are you talking about? Okay.